stars look different when you were this far from home. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching the swirling colors of the Kepler 442 nebula through the main view screen. His ship had been exploring this region for 3 months, mapping new worlds and checking for signs of life. So far, they had found nothing but empty planets and dead rocks. "Admiral, we're picking up something strange," called out Lieutenant Ben Parker from the sensor station. His voice carried a note of excitement that made everyone on the bridge look up from their duties. Jake walked over to Ben's station and looked at the readings. The sensors showed a large object moving toward them at incredible speed. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built, shaped like a giant crystal that caught and reflected light in impossible ways. "How fast is it moving?" Jake asked. "Faster than our best ships, sir, and it's heading straight for us." Jake felt his heart speed up. This was it, the moment every human explorer had dreamed of and feared in equal measure. First contact with an alien species. "All hands to battle stations," Jake ordered. The red alert lights flashed throughout the ship as the crew prepared for whatever was coming. The alien vessel stopped just outside weapons range. It hung in space like a beautiful sculpture, its crystal surface pulsing with soft blue light. Jake had to admit it was the most amazing thing he had ever seen. "They're sending us a message, sir," reported Communications Officer Lisa Carter. "It's in perfect English." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Perfect English?" "Yes, sir. They're asking permission to come aboard for peaceful talks." Jake thought for a moment. This could be a trap, but if the aliens wanted to destroy them, they probably would have done it already. Their ship was clearly more advanced than anything humans possessed. "Tell them they can send one representative. We'll meet in conference room 2. An hour later, Jake sat across from the most alien being he had ever imagined. Ambassador Kael'th looked like he was made of living crystal, with features that seemed to shift and change in the light. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind, chimes mixed with the whisper of wind through trees. "Admiral Morrison," Kael'th began, "I come with greetings from the Zephyrian Collective. We have been watching your species for some time." "Watching us?" Jake asked. "For how long?" "Since you first left your home world. We observe all new species that enter space. It is our duty to the galaxy." Lisa Carter, who served as the ship's chief diplomat, leaned forward. "What kind of duty?" Kael'th's crystal features seemed to darken. "To prevent disasters before they happen. Admiral, your species is expanding too quickly. In the past 50 years, you have built colonies on 17 worlds across 12 star systems. You consume resources at an alarming rate and show no signs of slowing down." Jake felt a flash of anger. "We're explorers. We're trying to build a better future for humanity." "That is what they all say," Kael'th replied sadly. "The Malkorians said the same thing before they stripped their worlds bare and died fighting over the last scraps. The Vorthon Empire claimed they were bringing order to the galaxy before they collapsed into civil war that destroyed 6 entire star systems. The alien reached into what looked like empty air and pulled out a small device. Images began to appear in the space above the conference table. Jake and Lisa watched in horror as they saw the ruins of dead civilizations, burned worlds, empty cities, the remains of species that had reached for the stars and found only destruction. "We have watched 23 species follow the same path your people are on now," Kael'th continued. "All of them ended in extinction or slavery. We will not allow this to happen again." "What are you saying?" Lisa asked, though Jake could see, in her eyes, that she already knew. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision about humanity. You have gone too far, too fast. You must stop your expansion immediately. You must reduce the population of your colonies by 60%, and you must accept oversight from the Council to ensure you do not repeat the mistakes of those who came before." Jake stood up so quickly that his chair fell over. "You're asking us to abandon our colonies? To leave millions of people homeless?" "We are offering you survival," Kael'th said calmly. "Accept our terms and humanity will be granted protected species status. You will be allowed to exist under our guidance. Refuse, and you will face the same fate as all the others." "And if we refuse?" Jake asked. though he was pretty sure he didn't want to hear the answer. Then the Council will take action to protect the galaxy from your expansion. Your colonies will be evacuated. Your people will be relocated to suitable worlds where they can live simple, peaceful lives. Your technology will be limited to prevent future expansion. Lisa looked pale. You're talking about the end of human independence. I am talking about human survival, Kael'th replied. Your species has great potential, but only if you learn to control your aggressive instincts. Under our guidance, you could live for thousands of years in peace and safety. Jake felt his hands clench into fists. As your slaves, you mean? As our students? As our protected children? This is not punishment, Admiral. This is mercy. The meeting ended with Kael'th giving them a small crystal device. This contains the full terms of our offer. You have 6 months to decide. Contact us through this device when you have made your choice. After the alien left, Jake and Lisa sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Lisa spoke. Jake, their technology is incredible. Did you see how they translated our language perfectly? How they pulled up those images from nothing? If they wanted to destroy us, they could probably do it without breaking a sweat. Jake nodded grimly. I know. But did you see those images of the dead civilizations? What if some of those species were destroyed by the Zephyrians themselves? What if they're not protecting the galaxy from aggressive species? What if they're just getting rid of potential competition? That's a dangerous thought, Lisa warned. Maybe, but I'd rather be dangerous than dead, or worse, turned into some kind of pet species that exists only because our alien masters allow it. The trip back to Earth took 2 weeks. Jake spent most of that time writing his report and thinking about what he would tell the leaders of humanity. The message was simple but terrifying. Submit to alien rule or face the consequences. When they finally reached Earth, Jake was surprised to find that news of the alien contact had already spread. Someone had leaked the story and the entire planet was buzzing with excitement and fear. Some people were calling for immediate surrender to the aliens. Others were demanding that humanity fight for its freedom no matter the cost. President Maria Rodriguez called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Senate. Jake found himself standing before the most powerful people in human space, trying to explain why an alien species was demanding they give up everything they had worked for. They claim it's for our own good, Jake told the assembled senators. They say we're following the same path as other species that destroyed themselves. But I can't shake the feeling that we're not getting the whole story. General Kevin Brooks, the head of Earth's military forces, leaned forward. Admiral, in your professional opinion, could we fight them and win? Jake thought about the crystal, ship that had appeared out of nowhere and moved faster than anything humans had ever built. He thought about Kael'th pulling images out of thin air and speaking perfect English without any visible translator. Honestly, General, I don't know. Their technology is far beyond ours, but that doesn't mean we should just give up without trying. The debate that followed would go on for months, but even as Jake watched senators argue about humanity's future, he knew in his heart what the decision would be. Humans had not fought their way up from caves and across the stars just to bow down to alien masters, who claimed to know what was best for them. The vote, when it finally came, was closer than anyone expected. But in the end, humanity chose freedom over safety. They would reject the alien ultimatum and face whatever consequences came next. Jake only hoped they would survive what was coming. The message came through 6 months after humanity's rejection of the alien ultimatum. It was broadcast on every human communication channel at the same time, drowning out news reports, entertainment shows, and even emergency frequencies. Ambassador Kael'th's crystal face appeared on billions of screens across human space. People of Earth, his voice chimed like broken glass. You have chosen poorly. The Galactic Council gave you a chance to join the civilized galaxy. You refused. Now you will learn why younger species need guidance. The transmission cut off, leaving behind an eerie silence that seemed to echo across the stars. Captain Steve Collins was hauling medical supplies to the colony world of New Montana when the first consequences hit. His cargo ship, the Frontier Runner, was part of a convoy of 12 vessels carrying everything from antibiotics to surgical equipment. The colonists on New Montana were dealing with an outbreak of Kepler fever, and without these supplies, thousands would die. Steve had been running cargo between worlds for 15 years. He knew every trade route, every safe harbor, every shortcut through asteroid fields. But he had never seen anything like the wall of crystal ships that suddenly appeared in front of his convoy. "This is Captain Collins of the merchant vessel Frontier Runner," he broadcast on the emergency channel. "We're carrying medical supplies to New Montana. We're not military. We just want to get medicine to sick people." The alien response came immediately. "Your convoy will stop and prepare to be boarded. Any attempt to continue will result in the disabling of your ships." Steve looked at his navigator, Pete Davis, who had been flying with him for 8 years. Pete's face was pale, but his hands were steady on the controls. "Captain, we've got families on New Montana counting on us," Pete said quietly. "Kids who won't make it without those antibiotics." Steve made his decision. "All ships, this is Frontier Runner. We're going through. Stay in formation and punch it." The convoy accelerated toward the alien blockade. For a moment, Steve thought they might actually make it. Then the Zephyrian ships opened fire. The weapons weren't like anything in human military databases. Instead of explosions or laser burns, the alien beams simply made the human ships stop working. Engines died, life support systems shut down, communications went dead. The crews were left alive but helpless, drifting in the cold emptiness of space. Steve and his convoy floated powerless for 3 days before a human rescue ship found them. By the time they were towed back to the nearest station, 47 people had died on New Montana from Kepler fever. Steve would remember their names for the rest of his life. The blockade spread quickly. Within weeks, major trade routes throughout human space were cut off. The aliens didn't attack human ships directly. They just made sure nothing could get through to the colonies that needed supplies. Governor Paul Henderson of New Montana called an emergency meeting of his colonial council. The planet's population was nearly 3 million people, most of them farmers and miners who had come looking for a better life. Now they were trapped, cut off from the rest of humanity by an alien blockade they couldn't fight. "We've got enough food for maybe 6 months if we ration carefully," reported Agriculture Minister Carol White. "But we're running low on industrial parts. If the fusion reactors break down, we won't have power for the cities." "What about the military?" asked Security Chief Dan Roberts. "Can't Earth send warships to break the blockade?" Henderson shook his head. "Earth's got the same problem we do. The aliens aren't just blocking New Montana. They're cutting off supply lines to every human colony. Earth's military is spread too thin to help everyone." The psychological warfare started a week later. Human communication networks were suddenly flooded with alien broadcasts. The messages appeared on personal computers, public screens, even on children's educational tablets. They showed images of beautiful worlds where humans lived in simple villages, farming peaceful fields under alien supervision. "This is what awaits those who choose wisdom," the broadcast said. "No war, no hunger, no fear. Only peace under the guidance of those who have walked among the stars for thousands of years." But there were other images too. Pictures of dead worlds and empty cities, ruins of civilizations that had refused to accept alien guidance. The message was clear: submit or be destroyed. Dr. Rachel Adams, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, studied the broadcast from her laboratory on Luna Station. She had spent her career preparing for first contact with alien species, but nothing had prepared her for this. "They're studying us," she told President Rodriguez during their weekly briefing. "Every broadcast is designed to measure our emotional responses. They're learning how we think, how we react to fear and hope." "To what end?" the president asked. "I think they're deciding which approach will work best to make us surrender, the carrot or the stick." On the frontier world of Haven's Rest, former Marine Carl Murphy was teaching his neighbors how to fight. The planet was home to about 200,000 colonists, mostly families who had wanted to get away from the crowded cities of Earth. Carl had retired there to run a small farm, but his military training was proving useful again. "These aliens want us to be afraid," he told the group of volunteers who met in the town hall every evening. Fear makes people do stupid things. We need to be smart instead. Carl's wife, Janet, helped organize the civilians into defensive units. She had been a nurse in the military and knew how to keep people calm under pressure. We don't know what's coming, she told the women's defense group, but we know we're not going to just lie down and give up. The rumors started spreading around. The same time, entire colonies going silent overnight. Ships sent to investigate finding empty settlements with no signs of struggle. People just gone, as if they had never existed. The truth came 3 months after the first blockade, when a badly damaged scout ship limped into Earth orbit. The pilot, Lieutenant Mary Foster, had been part of a reconnaissance mission to check on Beacon Colony, a small settlement near the edge of human space. "They're gone," she reported to Admiral Morrison, her voice shaking with exhaustion and terror. "All 40,000 of them. Just gone." "What do you mean gone?" Morrison asked. "I mean the colony is empty, sir. Houses are still there. Food is still on the tables. But there are no people, no bodies, no signs of fighting. It's like everyone just vanished." The investigation revealed the truth. Beacon Colony's final transmission had been recorded automatically by the settlement's computers. Colony Administrator Beth Walker's voice echoed through the empty streets as investigators played back her last words. "Large ships descending from the sky." Her voice crackled through the speakers. "Some kind of beam weapon. People are falling down, but they're not dead. They're still conscious, but they can't move. Oh God, they're taking them. They're loading people onto the ships like cargo. I can't move my legs, I can't." The transmission ended there. When Admiral Morrison demanded an explanation from the Zephyrians, Ambassador Kael'th's response was delivered with the same calm tone he had used during their first meeting. "The people of Beacon Colony are safe," he said. "They are being educated about proper behavior for their species. They are learning to live in harmony with galactic civilization. This is not cruelty. Admiral, this is mercy. You kidnapped 40,000 people," Morrison shouted at the crystal face on his screen. "We relocated 40,000 individuals to facilities where they can be properly guided toward peaceful existence. They will be returned to human space when they have learned to accept their proper place in the galaxy." "Their proper place? They're not animals to be trained, are they not?" Kael'th asked. "Your species shows all the signs of dangerous immaturity, aggressive expansion, resource consumption without regard for consequences, refusal to accept guidance from wiser civilizations. If left unchecked, you will destroy yourselves and potentially others. We are preventing this outcome." The conversation ended with Kael'th's final words echoing in Morrison's mind. "More relocations will follow until humanity learns wisdom. The choice, as always, is yours." That night, President Rodriguez addressed the people of Earth from her office in New Washington. Her words were broadcast to every human colony that could still receive transmissions. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice steady, despite the weight of what she was about to say. "We face an enemy that claims to act for our own good. They say they are saving us from ourselves. They say they know better than we do how we should live our lives." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "But we know the truth. We know that freedom is worth fighting for. We know that no species, no matter how old or powerful, has the right to decide our fate for us." Her final words would be remembered by every human who heard them. "Today, we declare that no human being will bow to alien tyranny. Today, we choose to fight." The war was about to begin. The war began not with grand battles or heroic speeches, but with a simple message broadcast across human space. President Rodriguez sat in the Oval Office, her hands folded calmly on the ancient wooden desk, and spoke directly to every human being in the galaxy. "Today we stop asking for mercy from those who have none to give," she said. "Today we stop hoping that creatures who steal our children will suddenly develop compassion. Today we remind the galaxy what happens when you threaten the human family." Within hours of the broadcast, every human world transformed into something the Zephyrians had never seen before. What they thought they understood about human nature was about to prove them catastrophically wrong. General Kevin Brooks stood in the war room beneath the Pentagon, surrounded by screens showing every human colony. The aliens had made one crucial mistake in their study of humanity. They had observed human expansion and trade, human art and culture, human politics and diplomacy. But they had never seen humans at war. Project Nemesis is now active, Brooks announced to his staff. Every factory, every shipyard, every research facility in human space has one job now. We're going to show these crystal-skinned kidnappers what total war looks like. On the industrial world of New Pittsburgh, factory manager Tony Baker received his new orders with grim satisfaction. His factories had been producing mining equipment and civilian spacecraft. Within days, the same assembly lines were churning out weapons that had existed only in theoretical designs just weeks before. The aliens think they know us, Tony told his shift supervisors. They think we're like the other species they've bullied into submission. They're about to learn better. Working alongside Tony was Linda Gray, a brilliant engineer who had been designing more efficient cargo containers before the war started. Now she was creating something the galaxy had never seen: quantum torpedoes that could tear holes in space itself. The Zephyrians have been spacefaring for thousands of years, Linda explained to her design team. They've got rules about how space combat works. They fight wars like gentlemen playing chess. We're going to show them what happens when someone flips the board over. The first test of human resolve came when Captain Sarah Webb took command of the newly commissioned UES Retribution. Her ship was built from the ground up as a weapon of war, incorporating every piece of alien technology that human scientists had been able to reverse engineer and improve upon. Webb had lost her brother in the Beacon Colony abductions. When she received orders to engage a Zephyrian patrol fleet near the Saturn mining stations, she knew exactly what she was going to do. "This is for Danny," she whispered as her ship dropped out of hyperspace directly on top of the alien formation. The Zephyrians were expecting a traditional space battle. Ships would maneuver at long range, exchange fire with energy weapons, and eventually one side would retreat or surrender. It was how space combat had worked for millennia. Captain Webb had different ideas. The Retribution unleashed its full arsenal of quantum torpedoes at point-blank range, then rammed the largest alien ship before it could react. The explosion was visible from Mars. When the debris cleared, there was nothing left of either the human or alien vessels. But Webb had made her point. The message spread quickly through Zephyrian command. Humans didn't fight to win battles. They fought to completely destroy their enemies, even if it meant dying in the process. Commander Ryan Clark took the lesson even further. When his ship, the UES Vengeance, suffered critical damage during a raid on an alien supply depot, he did something that shocked even his own crew. "All hands to escape pods," he ordered. "I'm taking her in." "Sir, the ship can still be repaired," his first officer protested. "Not the point," Clark replied. "These aliens need to understand something about humans. We don't retreat, we don't surrender, and we don't leave our enemies feeling safe." Clark manually piloted his crippled ship into the alien depot at maximum velocity. The resulting explosion destroyed not only the depot, but 3 Zephyrian warships that had been docked there for repairs. The aliens began to realize they were facing something they had never encountered before. Every species they had conquered had fought defensively, trying to protect their worlds and their people. Humans fought offensively, seeking out alien targets and destroying them without regard for their own safety. Colonel Dana Price led the mission that changed everything. Her team of Special Forces soldiers had been tasked with locating the rehabilitation centers where the abducted humans were being held. What they found on the moon, designated as Processing Station Alpha 7, would fuel human rage for generations to come. The facility was hidden beneath the surface of a dead world, protected by energy shields and guarded by automated defense systems. Price and her team spent 2 weeks studying the alien defenses before launching their assault. "Remember," she told her soldiers before they went in, "we're not just here to rescue prisoners. We're here to send a message." The battle for the processing station lasted 18 hours. Price's team fought through corridors filled with alien technology designed to pacify and control human prisoners. What they found in the detention areas made even the hardest soldiers weep with fury. Thousands of Humans floated in transparent tubes filled with strange fluid. Their minds were being systematically altered by alien machinery, their memories rewritten, their personalities adjusted to make them compliant and docile. Children from Beacon Colony were being turned into empty shells who would thank their captors for enslaving them. Lieutenant Commander Alex Hayes was the communications specialist who documented everything. His camera captured images of human children with vacant eyes and artificial smiles, of adults who no longer remembered their own names, of families who had been separated and individually broken by alien rehabilitation. The footage that Hayes broadcast to human space was more powerful than any weapon. Every human who saw those images understood that this was not a war about territory or resources. This was a war about the right to remain human. "Look at them," Hayes said into his camera as he walked through the facility. "Look at what they're doing to our people. They're not trying to kill us, they're trying to erase us. They want to turn us into grateful pets who love our masters." The broadcast ended with Hayes standing in front of a wall covered with photos of the missing colonists. His final words became the rallying cry for every human military unit. No mercy, no quarter, no forgiveness. The rescue of Processing Station. Alpha 7 saved 8,000 human prisoners, but the psychological impact was far greater. The images of what the aliens were doing to captured humans spread through the galaxy, reaching even non-human species that had been neutral in the conflict. For the first time, other alien civilizations began to question the Zephyrian collective's methods. The Andromedans, an ancient race that had remained neutral for centuries, sent a message to Earth expressing their concern about the treatment of prisoners. But humans were past the point of caring about galactic opinion. The war had become personal in a way the aliens couldn't understand. Every human soldier, every factory worker, every civilian understood that they were fighting for more than independence. They were fighting for the right to exist as human beings. General Brooks coordinated the largest military operation in human history. 300 warships, built in secret shipyards throughout human space, converged on the Zephyrian home system. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had something more dangerous: the absolute certainty that they would rather die fighting than live as slaves. "The Zephyrians wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy," Brooks told his fleet commanders. "Time to show them theirs." Admiral Morrison, now commanding the largest fleet in human history, sent a final message to Ambassador Kael'th before the assault began. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of humanity's fury. "You took our children," Morrison said. "You tried to break our spirits. You thought you could make us grateful for our chains. You were wrong about everything, but mostly, you were wrong about what happens when you threaten a human's family." The attack on the Zephyrian homeworld began at dawn, ship time. It would last 3 days and change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The aliens were about to learn that the most dangerous thing in the universe was not advanced technology or ancient wisdom. It was a species that refused to accept defeat. The Zephyrian homeworld had never been attacked in its 10,000-year history. Zephyr Prime was a crystal paradise, its cities built from living minerals that grew like trees toward the sky. Beautiful and ancient, it was considered one of the wonders of the galaxy. For 3 days it burned. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as human weapons tore through alien defenses that had protected the planet for millennia. Around him, his officers worked with the cold efficiency of people who had seen the rehabilitation centers and knew exactly what they were fighting against. "Orbital defense grid is down," reported Tactical Officer Mike Chen. "All alien ships in the system have been destroyed or disabled." Morrison nodded. The battle for space around Zephyr Prime had been brutal but decisive. The aliens had better individual ships, but humans had brought more vessels and used them in ways the Zephyrians couldn't predict or counter. Captain Sarah Webb, now commanding a rebuilt version of the Retribution, had led suicide squadrons that rammed alien command ships. Commander Ryan Clark's tactics had been copied by dozens of human captains who chose to destroy their own vessels rather than let the enemy regroup. The aliens had technology. Humans had fury. General Brooks is requesting permission to begin the ground assault, Chen continued. "Tell him he has it," Morrison replied. And tell him the same rules apply down there as up here. No mercy. On the planet's surface, General Brooks coordinated the largest invasion in human history. 200,000 soldiers landed on Zephyr Prime, supported by weapons and vehicles that incorporated the best of human engineering and captured alien technology. The Zephyrians had never fought a ground war on their own world. Their military was designed for space combat and controlling other species from orbit. They had no idea how to fight an enemy that had landed on their cities and was advancing street by street. Colonel Dana Price led the assault on the capital, city of Harmony Spire. Her soldiers moved through crystal corridors that had been built for beauty, not defense. The aliens had designed their cities as works of art. Humans turned them into battlegrounds. Keep moving, Price told her troops as they advanced through the alien government district. Remember what they did to our people. Remember those children in the tubes. The fighting was unlike anything in the history of galactic warfare. The Zephyrians used weapons designed to disable and capture. Humans used weapons designed to kill quickly and efficiently. When alien peacekeeping forces tried to form defensive lines, human soldiers simply went around them, through them, or over them. Chief Engineer Marcus Torres had worked for months to reverse engineer alien technology. Now his improvements were being put to the test on the battlefield. Human weapons that had started as copies of Zephyrian designs now outperformed the originals. They're too used to fighting species that give up, Torres explained to President Rodriguez during a communication from the battlefield. They never learned how to fight people who just keep coming no matter what. The breakthrough came when Price's forces reached the central command complex where the Zephyrian leadership had taken shelter. The building was a work of art. Its crystal, walls refracting light into rainbow patterns that had inspired poets across the galaxy. Human soldiers blew holes through it with portable plasma cannons. Ambassador Kael'th was found in his private chambers, surrounded by the same communication devices he had used to deliver ultimatums to humanity. When the human soldiers burst through his door, he was broadcasting a desperate message to the Galactic Council. "Send help," he was saying to the crystal screen in front of him. "The humans are not like the others. They do not know when they have won. They do not stop." "Colonel," Price stepped into the chamber, her battle armor scorched from the fighting. "No," she said quietly. "We don't stop. That's what you never understood about us." Kael'th turned to face her, his crystal features dim with fear. "You have won. The planet is yours. What more do you want?" "Everything," Price replied. "We want our people back. We want compensation for what you did to them, and we want to make sure you never threaten another human being again." The formal surrender ceremony took place in the ruins of the Zephyrian Senate building. President Rodriguez had traveled from Earth to personally accept the alien capitulation. She stood where the galaxy's most powerful leaders had once made decisions affecting billions of lives. "Ambassador Kael'th," she began, her voice carrying across the rubble-strewn chamber. "You offered us a choice once. Submit or be destroyed. Now I'm offering you the same choice." The alien leader looked old and defeated. His crystal body had lost its luminous glow, and when he spoke, his voice cracked like breaking glass. "What are your terms?" he asked. "All human prisoners will be returned immediately," Rodriguez stated. "Every single person you abducted will be restored to their original mental state, regardless of the cost or difficulty. Any who cannot be fully restored will be cared for by your people for the rest of their lives." Kael'th nodded miserably. "Agreed. Second, you will provide technological compensation for the damage you have done to human colonies. Our scientists will have access to all Zephyrian knowledge that can be used to improve human life. That could take centuries to transfer. Then you'd better get started. Third, the Zephyrian Collective will serve as a protectorate of humanity for the next 100 years. You will follow human guidance in all matters of foreign policy and military action." The alien's crystal features went completely dark. "You are asking us to become your vassals. I'm asking you to become what you tried to make us. Protected children who exist under the guidance of a wiser species." Dr. Rachel Adams, who had studied the alien broadcasts and psychology, watched the surrender with mixed feelings. "President Rodriguez," she said privately after the ceremony, "these terms are incredibly harsh. We might be creating enemies who will seek revenge in the future." "Dr. Adams," the president replied, "these aliens kidnapped 40,000 of our people and tried to erase their minds. They plan to do the same to every human in the galaxy. Harsh terms are exactly what they deserve." General Brooks, standing nearby, added his own perspective. "The doctor's worried about making enemies. I say let them remember what happens when you threaten human children. Let every species in the galaxy remember." The aftermath of humanity's victory sent shockwaves throughout the galactic community. The Andromedans, who had expressed concern about Zephyrian methods, now sent formal diplomatic overtures to Earth. The Tau Confederacy, which had remained neutral during the conflict, offered trade agreements and mutual defense pacts. Captain Steve Collins, the merchant who had tried to run medical supplies through the alien blockade, found himself commanding a trading fleet that operated freely throughout former Zephyrian space. His ships carried human goods to worlds that had never seen them before, and alien technologies back to human colonies. "It's funny," he told his navigator Pete Davis, as they watched human colonists settling on a former Zephyrian world. "The aliens said we expanded too fast. Now we're expanding into their territory." Pete grinned. "Maybe they should have thought of that before they messed with us." The memorial to the victims of Beacon Colony was built on Luna, where it could be seen from Earth. The names of all 40,000 abducted colonists were carved into black stone, along with the names of every human who had died fighting for their freedom. But it was the inscription at the base of the memorial that visitors remembered most. The words were simple, but they carried a message that echoed across the galaxy. "We warned you back." 5 years after the surrender, Earth received its first official diplomatic mission from the Galactic Council. The delegation was led by an ancient species called the Ethereals, who had been neutral observers for thousands of years. "We come, seeking friendship with humanity," their leader announced at the welcoming ceremony in New York. President Rodriguez, now in her second term, smiled warmly. "We're always happy to make new friends, as long as they understand that friendship means treating each other as equals." The ethereal diplomat nodded quickly. "Of course. The galaxy has learned much about humanity in recent years. We respect your unique approach to problem solving." "Unique approach," Rodriguez repeated with amusement. "Is that what you're calling it?" "We prefer that to some of the other terms being used," the diplomat admitted. Later that evening, Admiral Morrison attended a dinner in honor of the visiting delegation. He found himself sitting next to an ethereal scientist who had studied the human-Zephyrian conflict. "Admiral," the alien said quietly, "may I ask you a question that has puzzled many of us?" "Go ahead." "The Zephyrians offered you peace, safety, an end to the struggles of expansion and competition. Many species would have accepted such an offer. Why didn't humans?" Morrison thought for a moment, then smiled. "Because we'd rather struggle as free beings than live comfortably as pets. The Zephyrians never understood that about us." "And now?" the scientist asked. "Now they do. And so does everyone else." The conversation was interrupted by a toast from President Rodriguez. She raised her glass and spoke to the assembled diplomats from across the galaxy. "To friendship," she said, "to mutual respect, and to the understanding that every species has the right to choose its own destiny." The alien diplomats raised their glasses and drank. But Morrison noticed that none of them met his eyes while they did it. They had learned the lesson that the Zephyrians had taught the hard way. Humanity was not a species to be underestimated. As the evening continued, Morrison stepped out onto the balcony and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, human colonies were thriving on worlds that had once belonged to the Zephyrian collective. Human ships were exploring regions of space that had been forbidden to younger species for millennia. The aliens had been right about one thing. Humanity's expansion was dangerous. They had simply been wrong about who was in danger. The stars looked different now. They looked like they belonged to humanity.